The bottom line is that the SAVE Act really threatens to interfere with the freedom to vote for millions of eligible Americans. First, it's based on a faulty premise. The false idea that millions of non-citizens are somehow illegally casting ballots. We know that's not true. We know that the incidence of non-citizens voting across America is microscopic. But this myth of massive fraud has been weaponized by those who seem upset because an election didn't go they wanted it to go the way they wanted it to go, and who seem to be hunting for some alternative explanation for the election outcome that they dislike. Second, the SAVE Act could shut out millions of eligible voters. You heard Senator Padilla and Senator Klobuchar talk about that. We're talking about U.S. citizens who have often voted for years or even decades who will not be able to vote. And don't just take our word for it. This isn't some theoretical or imagined circumstance. The state of Kansas a few years ago, as many of you know, experimented with this exact approach. They had a mini SAVE Act in the state of Kansas. And before a federal judge invalidated that law, they held an election in Kansas under that law. And in Kansas, during the election that they held under this very regime, over 26,000 eligible Kansans, were shut out and unable to vote because they couldn't produce the proper papers. So that's real. I mean, that happened. That's not just imagined or hypothetical. Third, the SAVE Act would create chaos in the administration of elections. All of us know this. This bill, if passed, would be effective immediately upon passage. Now, just think about that. You go back 3 decades, 4 decades or more, you look at every major elections bill to come out of the US Congress over the last 3 or 4 decades, there has always been a reasonable runway, sometimes many, many years for implementation. Now, as we sit here, we are 229 days away from the general election. That is not a lot of time. And the SAVE Act would require not just our offices, but counties, cities, towns all over America to somehow overnight become experts in determining whether a birth certificate is accurate and real, whether a marriage record is accurate and real, and so forth. And that's just the beginning of the costs. I think some of my colleagues will talk about that. It would impose criminal penalties on election workers, either temporary or permanent, who make a mistake.